Hi, this is Greg in Pensacola, Florida. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Tonight, we're going to take a look at another 3D printer. This is the second printer that I've shown off from Creality3D, and this is the CR-10 Mini. This is kind of the younger brother to the CR-10 that I just featured on the channel. And so the print dimensions on this one are 300, which is like 11.8 inches, by 220, which is 8.6 inches, by 300 in height, which again is like 11.6, 11.8 inches. So Gearbest did send me this printer to review, and so what I thought I would do tonight is I took one of the designers that I've had Terrain for, and this is Marcus Cruz. He's from Terrain4Print. I've done a Kickstarter video for him before, and I'll put links to the previous Kickstarter video so you can see some of that terrain. I will also put links to his Patreon, his Thingiverse page where you can see his designs, and he also has the Cgi Trader account if there's some extra stuff you want to buy. So he gives a bunch of stuff away for free. He's got a previous Kickstarter, and he does sell packages of models on Cgi Trader. And so what I'm going to do really quick is talk about this monster piece of terrain right here in the middle. This is not a one-piece print, but I want to talk about this. We'll take it off, then we're going to talk about the printer and how assembly went, how the shipping went, what my initial thoughts here are. I'll show off some more models, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on this printer. So this piece in the middle is part of the Fortress series. This is a modular piece. So it's got different things that you can put in different spots. So I just happened to choose an antenna, and I put it on top. I could put a second satellite dish. And then he's got different, this breaks down into a bunch of pieces. So this level right here, he's got different options that can be printed for this. So like I chose to put the antenna and the radar dish up top. You could put a troop platform up there if you wanted. So if you wanted to put troops way up high, and then this right here, he's got a couple different options for this piece also. I chose the one that kind of flashes out like that, but there's different, you don't have to go this high with it. You can stop right here if you want, and then use those same pieces that I had on top of here. But this Fortress is really nice. It's a really big piece. It's got some good heft to it when it's all printed out. This is 4 pieces right here that are held together with 8 clips on the inside. So they just press down, and this isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to fall apart or anything like that. So this is a great piece on your sci-fi battlefield. So if you're a 40K player and this is something, that you think you would like, and there's different panels here. These aren't all the panels that he's got, for it. So this is just 4 of the panels that I printed and then put together. So it gives you an idea. And even this piece up front, where your guys stand, you can change this out too. So this is pretty nice on there. So he did a really good job with this. I have a couple of these printed. I love these on my table, so something nice. Now we got that off the print bed, we'll talk about the printer a little bit. And I'll flash pictures up as I go along like I usually do. So the printer arrived safe and sound. I've had 3-4 orders now from Gearbest. Had no issues with the shipping times that were stated. The way the package arrived fine. The packing was great. There's nothing messed up inside. None of the corners were dinged or anything like that. So I took the printer out of the box, and it took me about 10 minutes to put it together. There's 2 bolts that go under this bar over here, and there's 2 bolts that go under this bar over here. Plug in the XYZ and extruder cables into the back of the power supply, and you're ready to power it on. Some things I noticed on this printer, because I did purchase a CR-10S, and that came in after this printer. So the very first thing I noticed is there are no more 3D printed parts on the Creality printer, and that goes for this printer and the CR-10S that I just received. On the regular CR-10 that I featured on the channel, the last thing that was 3D printed was this right here on your Bowden extruder. So this right now is injection molded. That's really nice and tight right here. So I was happy to see that this was injection molded. And lo and behold, when I unboxed my CR-10S, it was also injection molded. So my CR-10S, my CR-10 Mini, no 3D printed parts are on this printer. I know when it first came out, there was a lot of 3D printed parts in here, but they've improved it. They've got an injection molding process down, because really they've got a proven design here with the CR-10. The next thing I noticed, the print bed obviously is smaller. It's not a 12 by 12 print bed. It's an 11.6 by 11.8 by 8.6. I'm just going to say 12 inches across by a little more than 8.5 by 12 high. So the footprint is smaller. I took a picture of this next to the Anycubic i3 just to give you a size comparison. So if you're worried about footprint, this may be a pretty good option, because we'll talk about, in the show notes, I'm going to have codes for the CR10 Mini, the CR10, the CR10S, and the CR10 Enlarged. So if you're in the market for a printer and you're looking at the Creality line, I'll have codes for all 4 of them down there. So this one is actually under $300 if you use the code. I think it's $295 and some change US, and that's for European and US versions. So back to the printer. So no more 3D printed parts. Everything was tight. All I had to do was tighten the concentric nuts down on the bottom to tighten the tray, because they purposely come loose. I also tightened the Z-Rod nuts because they don't come tightened anymore either, and I just tightened those in so that way it just locked the Z-Rod in so nothing would happen to it during shipping. 3D printed parts that I put on here. Of course, I put on the big wagon wheel bed levelers that you see right up here in the front and back, because I love these. These things are great. Gearbest already told me, and I've already got the tracking number for it, that I'm getting the CR10 Enlarged, and I know that these big wagon wheels won't fit on that because it has 2 rails that go down the center, but I'm going to go look on Thingiverse and see if anybody's printed a smaller version of these that will work on that printer also. But so I put the wagon wheel levelers on there, and I put the filament guide over here. So the CR10S comes with the filament sensor, so that replaces this filament guide. But still, if you're running the regular CR10 or the CR10S, you will want to use this filament guide to keep it off the Z-Rod that's going right there. And of course, I'll have links to both the leveling knobs and the filament guide in the show notes also. The connector in the back is a socket, so that was nice. None of the other printers have that, and so this is actually a socket that you just click on and it clicks in. So I don't need, like the CR10S and the CR10 both came with a strain relief hooked up on here. This bed, they actually incorporated the socket, so I think this will go a long way. I don't see it flexing much when I print or anything like that. This part over here is metal. Up front, that used to be 3D printed. This is all metal. The belts were tight. I don't have any belt issues. Didn't have to tighten anything down like that. And I had this thing fired up and ready to print in probably about 15 to 20 minutes tops. And that's loading the filament, hooking the cables up, the end stops and things like that. Super quick to set up. And it does have a nice small footprint. The printer is not that big. So that's one of the pluses if you're worried about space or the amount of space it's going to take up, is that this is a little bit smaller footprint, but your print area is also smaller also. So talk about the noise on there. It's no louder and no quieter than the CR10 or my CR10S on there. There's not a ton of noise that comes out of here at the hot end. All the noise comes out of the case. So I think there's 3 fans in there. You turn it on, it's a little bit loud. This isn't the printer you would put in your living room while you're trying to watch TV. The fans are just too loud. Now, there's videos out there where people swap fans out and things like that. If that's something you want to do, go ahead. Where I keep my printers, I don't have to worry about the noise, so I run 4 or 5 printers in that room at the same time, and whatever, the door's shut, we don't hear anything. That's what happens when your kids grow up and leave the house. You got extra bedrooms that you can turn into a makerspace, so it's pretty nice. So overall, I loaded up the filament on there. I said all these red prints out here are Racy Red from Maker Geeks, and the blue I have loaded up is the Woohoo Blue from Maker Geeks also. I like the red. The blue, I'm still kind of, I don't know, on there, but these came in the Geek box, so it's super cheap filament. It's basically half price for coming in the Geek box, so just some random colors, so I thought I would use it up, and eventually I'll prime this stuff gray and paint it anyways. So like I said, the very first thing I printed about 20 minutes in, of course, was the Benchy. And all I do is I use the CR10 profile that I was using on my regular CR10, and all I did is change the bed size. That's it. And I've been printing with the exact same profile, and I use Simplify 3D. So the profile that I use for my CR10 regular and the CR10S, I just changed the bed size, loaded up the Benchy, hit print. Looks great. Looks every bit as good as the one that came off the CR-10 from the last video. And so then the few pieces of terrain that are not Marcus's, you know, because we do wargame terrain here. So I went and printed what I call my Benchies. And these are the war layer crates. These are the 3 war layer crates. No changes to the profile. I don't change anything. Everything here is printed with the exact same settings that I printed the Benchy with. So if you take a look at this, no strings, no droops, you know, and really I don't expect it to. The extruder's the same, the fans are the same. I mean, it's the same thing as the CR-10, it's just a little bit smaller. Oops. And the final print's right here. Like I said, again, this is the Maker Geeks Racy Red filament that's on here. And, you know, so it printed real well. I'm super happy with the way these crates came out. They look good, you know, so at that point, you know, I took the crates off. I put on, and I started running through some of the, of Marcus's stuff. So let's start with the sci-fi stuff. If you don't know, I'm a huge board gamer. This office that I'm in right now probably has 300 plus board games in it. And it's not the stuff you find at Target on there. You know, it's Fantasy Flight, Days of Wonder, you know, Asmodee, you know, all that stuff's in here. Maybe someday I'll start doing some of that stuff too. But for right now, Fantasy Flight Games has a game coming out called Star Wars Legion. So I own Star Wars Imperial Assault, which is kind of a, I don't want to say it's an RPG base, but it's a tabletop Star Wars game that has the miniatures in it, like stormtroopers and stuff like that. And I'll snap a picture up of what the board game looks like. But they're taking it to the tabletop in Star Wars Legion. And so Marcus went ahead and he started making some sci-fi style terrain that just happens to be in the correct scale and with a nice look that will fit perfectly with that game. Because, sorry about hitting the mic. Like all these war games, why do you want to pay $60 for terrain when you can pay $60 for models? Because they're going to put out terrain, and I guarantee you it's not going to be cheap. And so these are a couple examples of some of the terrain that you can print out. And again, I'll have links down there. And these just look really good. My wife, who didn't know what I was printing, she came in when I was getting ready to move this printer out of my makerspace out to here. She goes, "Oh, that looks like Star Wars terrain," because we just got back from seeing Star Wars today. And I said, that's exactly what it's for. You know, this is for a Star Wars tabletop game. And so I think this stuff looks really, really good. And he did a good job modeling this, you know. So, again, links to all his stuff will be down in the show notes. And then this right here is a tower. If you're not interested in this, you're probably definitely interested in one of these on there. So this is nice. I mean, it's too big for X-Wing, but you could rescale it. The X-Wing miniatures game. But if you're doing Star Wars Legion, I mean, this is nice. I hope he continues this line. He does have additional stuff like wrecked ships and starship wrecks and things like that. I just printed pretty much as much as I could for my date that I wanted to release this video. But this tower right here is great. It prints in 3 pieces. So the tower prints all up, and then it's got a place inside where you can actually set a miniature down so that that piece inside where your miniature base will fit, you know, prints separate, and it looks great. I mean, I printed one of these a while ago. I printed it in gray. I'm a Maker Gear, and I'm like, oh, that is great. And so definitely this was the first print of his that I printed on this printer, and I was super happy how it came out. So again, if you're a Star Wars Legion player coming up, jump on board and buy yourself some STL files, because when I look on his page up here, I know he did some stuff with Patreon, but you know, like the big tower stuff, you know, it's only $12, you know, and so he's got really good prices, and you can print yourself a whole table full of this stuff, and then, you know, pull some other stuff off Thingiverse and things like that. So that was great. So more about the printer. You know, at this point, I've had no printer jams from either printer, the CR-10 or the CR-10 Mini. The CR-10S I just got, so I probably have less than 50 hours on that printer right now. But all the stuff you see in front of you here is easily between 200 and 300 hours of print time. I do use hairspray. They send you masking tape that goes. I get rid of that right off the bat. I don't use masking tape. And I print at 60 degrees with the Maker Geeks filament on a hairspray bed, and I don't have any trouble. I did have one print lift a little bit, but that was up here in one corner, and that's all I did is give a quarter turn on the leveling knob, and I haven't had a problem since. So, and that's the thing about what's nice with these knobs, is I call it live leveling. So I level the bed, and then I start my prints here, and then I start getting bigger and start pushing out. And so when you print that skirt and you see it going around, you can see how, if it's too close or too high, and right on the fly, you can turn these knobs and make those adjustments before it moves in and starts printing your normal print. And they pretty much stay, because I got this is on my rack system in the back. You know, once I've set the knobs, they don't move. So that's all, I think, pretty good. Marcus also did, in addition to the sci-fi terrain, he did some Arab terrain. And this is I use it for Flames of War, World War II. And if you look right here, here's a couple pieces of it. The piece in blue is 28 millimeter, because that's what scale all the terrain is that you're getting. And so this right here is just an Arab house, and you can use it for your 28 mil war games or whatever RPG. If you need a house that's, you know, desert themed or something like that, you can use that. What I do is I take the models, I scale them down 62%, and so now this makes them in scale for Flames of War. So this model obviously is scaled down, and then it has different options. So I can take the model when you're looking at it like that. I can add a second level on there, and because I ran out of filament, you know, I can put the top on, you know, so you can get a nice 3-level piece on there. And I'm telling you, this costs nothing to print. I mean, we're talking, God, it must be like $1.50 tops, maybe $2 with the dome on here, because it's not solid, but it's infill in there. And I print everything with 10% infill, you know. So this comes out of his Desert Arab line of prints also, and so he has some free examples on Thingiverse and things like that. So I think it printed great. 2 different filaments, and still up to this point I haven't changed any settings at all. I'm also a recent backer of his on Patreon, and because I completely forgot that he had started a Patreon until I started looking at his account again. And so this is one of the pieces that he's been working on there, and he's doing modular hills. And so this kind of has your sci-fi door built in the front. He has 8 different versions with entrances in it, and then a whole bunch of versions with that they lock onto the sides with pins. Yeah, it's just a push, or like an H-shaped push pin on there, kind of similar to Z1, what he uses. But you know, so I just printed this out yesterday because I saw it yesterday, and I said, oh, that's really nice. And so you can print out 4 pieces of this and just pin it all together, and then go ahead and paint it up. And he has some really nice painted examples and stuff too. So got this. It was off the Patreon or on Thingiverse, but this is just another avenue. Between the links on there, you can see where the different items are coming from. So between Cgi Trader, between Patreon, between free models that he's released on Thingiverse. So he's done a really good job with it. So thoughts on the printer after printing all this stuff. I've had 0 issues, you know, and really when this Terrain came in, when this printer came in, I did not expect to have any issues with it. It was a Creality printer. My CR-10 regular printer has been printing nonstop since I've gotten it. I can I've had no jams. I haven't had any Bowden cable issues. It's the biggest, the positives are, or some of the differences are, it's got thinner glass. It has 3mm glass. My CR-10 has 4mm glass. Smaller heat bed, thinner glass. It is quicker to first print than the other two printers are, which would be expected. With the larger heat bed, it's just going to take a little longer to heat up. So this is pretty quick to first print on there. I don't have any complaints with time on when I hit the button to go and when it starts printing. This printer also has power failure resume, which I didn't know until I lost power. I tripped a breaker back in that room by mistake, and I was like, oh man, because I was like halfway through a print. And the hard thing was I was going to show off which print it was. It's one of these houses, but I can't find a spot where it restarted. So when the power went out, and I mean, it was out for 6 minutes probably, because I had the door open and I walked back towards my bedroom, and I can hear the printers when they're running down there if I have the door open. And I'm like, man, that sounds awful quiet for 4 printers to be running. And I walk in there, and this printer was not on a UPS yet. And I'm like, oh, darn it. Tripped the breaker back on, printer powered back up, and it had a little message down at the bottom, basically where it's almost like a dump file is what it looks like. So when it loses power, it has enough time to write the last location to a dump file. And I brought it back up, and I hit resume print. Bed heated up, nozzle heated up, and it slid right over and kept right on going. So that's something I didn't know that was part of this printer. So big thumbs up that they integrated that into the firmware of this one. No filament sensor, but you do have, power loss resume on this printer. What else? The footprint's nice. I mean, it's just a little bit bigger than Anycubic i3, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space. Negatives. The only negative, and it's not really a negative, is just fan noise. And I have fan noise on every printer that I have in this house, so it's a little bit louder than the Maker Gears, but it's not terribly loud. But I wouldn't put any printer I own in my living room by my TV while I'm trying to watch TV. So it's your typical fan noise. And really, in the fan noise from this printer, from the Creality line, the noise comes from these cases on these power supplies here. So when it gets under load, it spins a little bit higher and stuff like that. Other negative, and it's not a negative. The only other thing is the price point on this is super close to the price point on the Creality CR-10. So $295 with my coupon is what this one's running right now, and I think it was $329 with my coupon on the CR-10. So for $35 more, you get a 12x12 printer, and pretty much everything else is the same on it. It's a single Z lead screw. So really, it comes down. It's one of those. It makes you wonder if they were thinking about discontinuing the regular CR-10 when the CR-10S was released, and that this was going to be the replacement, but that the regular CR-10 still sells so well, they never stopped making it. I mean, I have no idea what the thought process was here, but if I had to take a guess, that this was going to be the new base model, and then it would be the CR-10S, the enlarged, and then the gigantic 500 by 500 millimeter one. But right now, they're still all for sale and available, and plenty in stock. So this is a nice printer. It's really nice. The results speak for itself. If you're looking for something with a little smaller footprint, less than $300, right here. Now, what I would say, if someone asked me would I buy this or the Anycubic i3, I would buy this all day long before my Anycubic i3. I think the i3 is undergoing a change right now because I've got problems that a lot of people have, and that's bent beds that come with it because the metal is so thin up underneath their heat beds. But the way this prints and the way that has some really good prints that come off it, this is the printer I would say. The power loss resume, the print head, it just all works on the Anycubic i3. My Bowden tube pops off. I've had to replace this twice on that. I haven't had to do that on the CR-10 yet. Now, granted, I have a lot more hours on that Anycubic i3. But if I was going to spend, if I had $300 to spend and I wasn't going to do the CR-10 regular, and my choice was this or the Anycubic i3, I would take this on there. That's just me on there. It's got a bigger print bed. It prints as good as that printer does, if not a little better. And I haven't had any issues with anything yet from the Creality line, so pretty happy with it. So like I said, links to all the printers will be down in the show notes, along with their corresponding coupon codes. If you choose to buy one, I thank you. If you're just going ahead and take a look, maybe something after the new year you want to look at, but getting a decent printer nowadays is pretty economical out there. I mean, this frame isn't going to fall apart. This extruded aluminum that they're using on here really is the way to go with these sub $1,000 printers. I think this is a great design. I think the electronics are fine. The print head's fine. I mean, like I said, I haven't had any problems. And unlike just printing a benchy or two and calling it good, you've got 200 to 300 hours worth of prints here in front of you. So, like I do all the time on this channel, I'm going to use it. I'll tell you when, just like I did with the Kickstarter video, where all those prints came from. And, if something breaks on one of these printers, I'll let you know. And we'll go from there. But I'm happy to have this printer here. This printer is definitely on the shelf. It's in the normal rotation of stuff that I print for this channel. So if you're a new person here, haven't seen a video before, please subscribe. I do tabletop wargaming terrain. And if you're in the market for a 3D printer, check out the links below. And if you elect to use one of my links to buy one, I do thank you. It all goes into Filament here that I print with on the channel anyways. Any money I do make off these affiliate links and things. I will put links to Marcus's Thingiverse page, Patreon page, and his Cgi Trader page. I told him I was doing this video a while ago, so I don't even know if he remembers I'm doing it, but here it is on there. He's got really nice stuff. It's right here in front of you. He's got a bunch of varied stuff too that you can see, that goes beyond what you just see here. So he's doing a really good job. He's designing more and putting more stuff out. He's doing a different avenue than the Kickstarter. So I just wanted to get his terrain up here. And like I said, I have a CR-10 S4, not S4, CR-10 enlarged now they're calling it. That's coming in. So that's about a 16 inch by 16 inch by 16 inch. And I'll go through the same process. I'll pick somebody. I have somebody in mind that I'm going to work their terrain on, and we'll print it all out. And after the beginning of the year, I'll put that printer up also. But for now, there's links to all 4 of the printers down there with codes for all 4 of the printers. And I thank you very much for watching. And stay tuned. I've got some Moai stuff coming out. And I just wish everybody a safe and happy holidays. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.